If you're thinking about loaning yourself money from your business, you need to understand this first. You took the money out, you called it a loan, maybe you even wrote up a document and added an interest rate. You thought you were being smart, avoiding taxes while keeping everything legal, but here's what most people don't realize. Okay, the IRS doesn't have to agree with you. They can reclassify it based on what it looks like, and if they decide your loan is really a distribution or a dividend, you could be looking at a tax bill, penalties, and interest that you never planned for. And I'm Jasmine DiLucci. I'm a practicing tax attorney, CPA, and enrolled agent. I got my first tax license in high school, and I regularly see shareholder loans challenged, reclassified, and blown up in IRS audits when they aren't structured correctly. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why the IRS ignores your loan, how loans get reclassified in court from real cases where they blew up, and how to protect yourself before the IRS steps in. If you're loaning yourself money, you need to understand why the IRS ignores your loan entirely. When you take money out of your own business and you call it a loan, the IRS and courts don't just accept your word for it. They look at the substance and economic reality of the transaction, not whatever label that you slapped on it. This principle comes straight from decades of court cases. Okay, courts have consistently held that the IRS is duty-bound to look at the substance over form of the transaction. And why does this matter? Usually because the loan avoids a taxable event. For example, in a C Corp, distributions of profits to shareholders are subject to dividend tax. Okay, even when the corporation already paid tax on that income, that's classic double taxation. In an S Corp, distributions in excess of tax basis can trigger capital gains tax, often unexpectedly, even when no cash feels earned. In a partnership or sole prop, owners often set up loans that do not avoid a taxable event, but that inadvertently creates a taxable event in a future year. This is because, in addition to the IRS recharacterizing a loan as equity, which can itself create a taxable event, the IRS can also apply the duty of consistency. The duty of consistency is a judicial doctrine that prevents taxpayers from changing a previously reported position after the IRS has relied on it and the statute of limitations has closed. That means once you've taken a position, even one that lacks substance, like labeling something a loan on your return, you generally can't change that position later when it becomes tax adverse to you. The IRS, however, can recharacterize the transaction based on the substance, and it will do so when the substance supports a different classification that produces a higher tax result. Here's how the duty of consistency plays out in practice. A client came to me who had labeled a capital contribution as a loan from one of the partners, but it was never treated like a real loan. Okay, there was no interest, no maturity date, no promissory note, none of the things that make a loan a loan. Many years later, when the partnership dissolved, they removed the loan from the balance sheet and plugged it into equity, which is where it should have been in the first place. So, what's the problem? Well, because the taxpayer had consistently represented the contribution as a loan on the balance sheet, the IRS applied the duty of consistency, so when the loan was removed on exit, the IRS treated it as cancellation of debt income for the remaining owner, generating significant tax because it was consistent with the taxpayer's original position that the funds were a loan, even though it was obvious in substance that it was never a real loan. No bad intent, no abuse, just an early classification choice that locked in a later tax result. And here's the lesson. The IRS doesn't reclassify your loan randomly, it reclassifies it only when doing so produces a better tax result for them. That's why you need to be intentional about when it actually makes sense to label something a loan and make sure the structure and facts don't give the IRS room to recharacterize it. Now let's talk about how loans to shareholders actually get reclassified in court, because this is where paperwork stops mattering and facts take over. Courts don't just guess on whether a shareholder loan is real, they apply a factor test, meaning no single label or document controls. Courts weigh multiple factors together to decide whether money taken out of the business is truly a loan or actually a distribution or compensation. Depending on the court and the circuit, there can be 11 to 16 factors. For simplicity, they fall into 4 buckets. Bucket 1, relationship, control, and alignment of interest. The court is essentially asking, did this look like an arm's length loan or money moving inside one person's control? They look at whether the shareholder borrowing the money controls the business, overlap between the ownership and decision making, participation in management, voting power, and the intent of the parties at the time the money was taken out. What courts are really asking is, did the shareholder control both sides of the transaction? Was there anyone independent protecting the company's interests? Did this look like company lending money or an owner helping themselves? When the borrower controls the business, courts require much stronger proof that the transfer was a real loan. Bucket 2, economic risk and capital structure. Okay, this is often the most heavily weighted bucket. Here, courts ask, was the business actually in the position to lend money, or did this expose the company to owner-level risk? They look at whether the shareholder could have borrowed from a bank instead, whether the business was adequately capitalized before the loan, whether the company absorbed risk by letting the owner take cash out. What courts are asking, would an unrelated lender have loaned money to the shareholder on similar terms? Did the company remain adequately capitalized after the funds were taken out? Or did the loan function like a distribution of profits? If no outside lender would have made the loan, courts infer that the transaction was not true debt. Bucket 3, repayment reality and creditor behavior. This bucket answers one question. Did the company actually behave like a lender? Courts look for a real maturity date, a real interest rate, required payments, a realistic source of repayment, and what happened when payments weren't made. Well, courts are asking, was repayment mandatory or optional? Was interest actually paid, not just accrued? If the shareholder didn't pay, did the company enforce the loan? If repayment depended on convenience, profits, or we'll deal with it later, courts treat the loan as equity. And bucket 4, formal label and priority. Only after all of that do courts look at form. They ask, did the paperwork support what actually happened? They look at how the transaction was labeled in the books and tax return, whether there was real loan documentation, whether the company treated itself as a true creditor, or whether the loan was effectively last in line, right? Documentation helps, but only when it matches reality. Paper doesn't rescue the substance. Now let's talk about how to protect yourself before the IRS steps in, because once an audit starts, you don't get to rewrite the facts. This is what actually happens when shareholder loans aren't handled correctly, and more importantly, how to make sure you're not setting yourself up for failure. Let me walk you through scenarios that I see all the time. Okay, scenario 1, you own a C Corp. The business is doing well. You want to take out $100,000, but you don't want to pay yourself a dividend because that's double taxed. Once at the corporate level and once personally. So your accountant, who thinks they're a creative tax planning genius, plugs your withdrawal to loan to shareholders, or even worse, accounts receivable or due from shareholder. You write up a basic promissory note, maybe you even set an interest rate. But here's what doesn't happen. You don't make principal payments, you don't consistently pay interest, the maturity date keeps getting pushed back, there's no collateral, and the shareholder never could have qualified for a real bank loan with those terms anyways. 3 years later, the IRS audits you. They look at this loan and they say this isn't a loan, this is a dividend. Now you owe tax on $100,000 of dividend income plus penalties and interest going back years. Scenario 2, you're an S Corp owner. You take out $200,000, but you don't have $200,000 of tax basis in the company. Normally that would trigger capital gains tax. Your accountant wants to pretend like they tax plan, so they plug that excess distribution right onto your balance sheet. Loan to shareholder. The IRS reclassifies it as a distribution, hook, line, and sinker, and now you're hit with capital gains tax on the amount that exceeds your basis, plus penalties for underreporting. So what should you do if you've taken or are thinking about taking money out of your business as a loan? First, review the substance of the transaction and make sure you actually meet the requirements of a true loan. Second, treat it like a loan from day one. Execute a formal written agreement with a clear repayment schedule, a market interest rate, a fixed maturity date, defined payment terms, and if it wouldn't pass with a third party, it won't pass with the IRS. 3, actually make the payments. Don't just write the document and ignore it. Make principal and interest payments on time. If you're not making payments, it's not a loan. 4, document the business purpose. Why is your business loaning out the money? Is there any business purpose at all? If the sole reason is tax avoidance, that's not legally a business purpose and it won't survive an IRS audit. 5, don't use loans to avoid basis limitations in an S Corp. If you don't have enough basis to take out money tax-free, calling it a loan won't fix that. Instead, plan the timing of the withdrawal after December 31st since tax basis is only measured at the end of the year. And 6, if you're a C Corp, be extra cautious, okay? The IRS is highly motivated to reclassify shareholder loans as dividends in C Corps because it creates double taxation, even when you have a loan document, even when you make regular payments. If you're missing clear substance and business purpose, know that you have a very high exposure position. The key point is this, okay? Once the IRS shows up, it's too late to make a loan look real. Protection only works if the structure, payments, and documentation were in place before the audit ever started. And regardless of what you call a transaction, the IRS can always challenge the label. So your goal is to make that challenge as difficult as possible by getting the substance right from the start. Here's the bottom line. The IRS doesn't care what label you put on the money you take out of your business. They care about the economic substance, And if your loan doesn't have characteristics of real debt, a fixed maturity date, regular payments, adequate capitalization, an arm's length transaction, it's going to get reclassified. And that reclassification comes with a tax bill, penalties, and years of compounding interest. So if you've taken money out as a loan or you're thinking about it, make sure it's actually structured like one. And for actual tax law from a tax attorney and CPA who deals with this stuff all the time, subscribe.